Hello everybody, Walter here. Welcome to episode 27 of my Let's Play series for Satisfactory 1.0. In the last episode we built a factory for all of the quantum items, and today I would like to continue with a factory for all of the consumables, which for the most part are all of the ammo types and the 2 filter types, plus a little bit of advanced fuel. Now with that in mind, let's jump back into the game and have a look where we left off last time. On a quick side note, I bought a new computer and can finally record in full 4K and don't have to downscale it during the recording, so things may look a little bit different. Nevertheless, I hope it's a lot clearer now than it was with all of the scaling going on. And yeah, the loading is also quite a bit faster now, which is also a nice thing to see. And once the whole thing here decides to actually show us something, it's time to talk about where I want to build all of this. So this here is the factory I built last time, and if you somewhat remember to the last episode, you will potentially notice that there's actually something below this floor here. Way down, so let's just now open this up over here. And you can see that you can't see anything because, well, here's a bottomless hole right below this. And that is exactly where I want to build this, since, well, this is going to be a mostly military facility, since, well, it's ammo and explosives. And it needs to be protected. And since I don't have anything like auto turrets or something like that, I'll have to go with obscurity. So this is going to be hidden below the floor. Which means the first step is actually figuring out how far I can go down, put in a proper floor so there is no danger of, well, actually killing myself, and also putting down some power wire so I can use my overpack right down there. So a bit later we now have a proper floor in, as well as a connection to the top layers in the form of this pillar here, which is somewhat hollow but already filled quite nicely with, for one, a ladder so we can get down, a priority power switch so we can turn off all of the stuff below, and 11 conveyor lifts plus 1 pipe. That is hopefully all I need to get all of the required materials down and 2 of the sushi belts back up again. So the next step now is just collecting all of the raw materials, some from the train station and then also some from the sushi belts, 2 of which I will actually fuse before I get to this point here. And yeah, get all of this down and the 2 sushi belts up again and then back to the storage system for now. Since those will be needed later on for some other stuff, but that is something for the next episode, I would say. Or maybe towards the end of this episode, we will have to see. So anyway, let's get all of the proper connections at the top here in place. And we are finally done with this part here. Now, unfortunately, this took a decent amount of time, but not because this here is overly complicated, but I ran into an issue. So I had to slightly adjust my storage system. At which point I noticed that I was running out of air limiters, so I went back to my previous main base and looked around, and after searching a bit I found that I have a backflow problem in my refinery facility, so some of the water pipes are backflowing and not running at full capacity, so some of the refineries are dry and not processing. So that was the issue. Now fixing a backflow problem like that can be a nightmare, and I don't really have much space left in that facility, so I just summer slooped some of the refineries that were working, so I'm getting the same output than if, well, everything were running properly in the first place. Of course, this may cause some issues with the increased power demand, but we will figure that out if we run it. So, nevertheless, it's now time to get to the bottom of all of this here. Quite literally. So, down here we can see our 2 sushi belts that are looping back up, the 3rd sushi belt which will end actually down here, and then a couple additional belts that, well, will also end down here. And now let's get started with the first setup, which is going to go over here. And let's see, can I put that in there? Close. Yeah, why not? Let's put that in there. So, and then I am going to need 2 converters, and those converters will go like this, and then I have another one right there. Now the output of this converter will loop back into this converter and... Oops, not looking too good. So that looks good. So the first one will produce bauxite out of copper, and I need, I think it's 50 bauxite. Yeah, 50 bauxite. And that then gets turned into uranium ore. And here I need 12.5. Yeah, that is exactly right. I'm just turning this off for now, since I don't want the uranium ore to collect in this while I'm building. So I'm just turning this on when the rest is in place already. Now, I do need a few more things. So first of all, I do need a smart splitter. Right here, I would say. Maybe let's go a little bit further out. Okay, let's do it like that. Then another smart splitter. And then another smart splitter there. So, then we have this one here, and then I think it's... yeah, Mark 2. So, this one here. I don't know what. Let's go with all 6 belts. We have the materials, so why not? So, then this one goes in there. Good. Now, this one here. And why did I use normal splitters? I meant to use smart splitters, obviously. So, this one here is going to use the reanimated SAM, and everything else goes to the right. Here, I have the reanimated SAM to the left, and everything else goes to the front. And here similar, but here we have the copper ore. And then, from here on, it goes straight into the awesome sink. Okay. So, then I just need to connect this properly. Preferably without too much clipping. Over to the setup here. So let me just very quickly connect this to the setup over there, and also run some power wire all over the place. And now it's time for a manufacturer, which goes right about here. With a little bit of distance, and yep, that looks good. Now, this is going to produce the infused uranium cells. So, contrary to the normal recipe, this doesn't need sulfuric acid, just plain sulfur, so greatly simplified production chain and greatly appreciated. So, this is going to run at 50%, which makes use of all of the uranium we are producing here. Now, concerning the uranium, we could have taken it from the nodes over in this cave, but honestly, I didn't want to bother with putting a belt all the way through the cave system, and for the other, I'm also not a fan of having radioactive material running through the entire base, so I decided to go with this approach here, which just produces exactly the amount we need. So, now, nevertheless, we're going to need the uranium cells, or the uranium, or the cells to be more precise, and that's not what I wanted. This is the connection. And then we're also going to need sulfur, which is fortunate enough on this belt here. I only need to set this here to sulfur. And we're done with that, and very soon we should see, yeah, the first few bits of sulfur coming in. Now, next up. We are also going to need silica and quickwire, which both are on the same sushi belt from over there. So I can just grab a smart splitter. Place it here, then another one there. Connect those here. Now, this one here will run the silica and then overflow. And this one here will run the quickwire. And then the overflow. So. Now. Furthermore, let's put another manufacturer over here. And let's put that about here, I would say. Let's see. Yeah, it looks good. So, this one here is going to make use of the uranium cells to produce nuke Nobelisks. The smokeless powder is on its own belt, the Nobelisk will be produced in a moment, and the AI limiters are also on this sushi belt here, so I can just do this here and then connect them like so. And before I forget it, I also need the uranium cells. Okay, so next up on the agenda are a couple assemblers, which will have to go over there. We need 2 for now. The first one is going to produce the cluster Nobelisks, because Nobelisk, smokeless powder, Nobelisk, smokeless powder. So those here need basically the same materials, which leaves us with the pulse Nobelisk. I'm not going to bother with the gas since you can't automate this properly. So pulse Nobelisk is more or less the limit. And then we need another 2. A little bit of a distance, and those are going to produce just the plain Nobelisk. So, and now let's see. This one here also needs the crystal oscillators, which are interesting enough also on this belt. So lots of the stuff we need is on just one belt already, which is very nice indeed. So overflow. And this is the crystal oscillator. And then these here need powder, which is again on its single belt, and steel pipes again from this very belt here. So again, very, very appreciated. So then steel pipes. So the powders I will worry about in a moment. Now for the Nobelisks. And for that I'm going with a sushi belt. So what I'm simply going to do is I run... Running out of power, apparently. Okay. I run mergers all the way to here. And then loop this over here with a series of smart splitters. Maybe in a raised position. I will have to see how that works out in a moment. But basically Nobelisk in here. And then in here. And in here. And then, as I said, the powders in the other positions. And yeah, that way I should be able to get all of this here properly connected. Just like this here. Now I haven't connected yet the output belt since, well, I'm not sure where my storage system will go in the end. Nevertheless, let's continue with the manufacturer for the explosive rebar. And that is going to need the smokeless powder, so I might as well put that, yeah, right there. Yep, looks good. Now the recipe is pretty simple. Iron rebar, that I will worry about in a moment. Smokeless powder and steel pipe. Smokeless powder comes from over here. So I just need to make sure I can put one here and then one there. And that is looking pretty good already. Then I need a smart splitter so I can grab the steel pipes from this belt here. Overflow. Steel pipe. And then connect it there. And as I said, I will worry about the iron rebar in a moment. So, let's continue on. Next up on the agenda are some assemblers. And do I want to make... Yeah, let's put them down like that. Yeah, that looks good. And then another one right next to that. So, and here it doesn't really matter which order I go. One is the stun rebar, and the other is the shatter rebar. Both are fed via materials that can be found again on this belt plus rebar, so that is going to be very simple. This was, I think, the quick wire. Yeah, and this one here is the quartz. So then I just need to connect these two. And now it's time for the iron rebar, and that I'm going to build over here. Since that is going to be fed via the second sushi belt. That returns to the top. Is floating? Yep, it's floating for some reason. Let's try this again. Okay, that looks good. So, 1, 2, and 3. And as I said, this is just the standard Rebar recipe. And the idea here is now pretty much the same as before. Merge all of this here, run this along the back with some smart splitters, then the iron rebars are fed into those here. And I might as well also merge this line here into this line. And at the back here, I just need to run the second sushi belt, which is currently just looping back here, over here with a series of smart splitters to grab the iron rods that I need. And we are done with the rebars, which together with the Nobelisks are currently merged onto this belt here, ending in a smart splitter, but that will obviously change in the future. Now, next up is fuel. And for that, I'm going to start over here with a blender. And that blender will have to be placed in a specific spot. Let's see, I think I need to go one step further. Yep, that looks good. Now, this is going to produce the rocket fuel at 32 and 1/3%. So, this will need some nitric acid, which I have available directly down here. And that can go in there. Let's color code this over here. Then next we are going to need so next up we are going to need these turbo fuels, but in an unpackaged form. So I'm going to grab a packager, put that around, let's say here. Yep, that looks like a good spot. Then I'm going to need once more my pipes. Need to go up and then yeah, let's put it down like so. I will need some of the turbo fuel for another process, so let's merge that in there. And okay, that's not going to work correctly, but that looks pretty good in. Wait, did I? I wanted to move this and not the pipe. So. Okay, that is looking good. The connection over there I will worry about in a moment. And then we have the output over here, which needs to be merged into this belt. Since we have the canisters and we don't have any need for the canisters at this point. So, that is this part done. As I said, I will connect that one over there later off screen. Now, we are going to need a refinery, and that one will have to go, let's say, I put that over here, let's just put that down so I have a rough idea how far I can go. Could go this close, let's go like that, and then one step further. Looks good. Let's grab the pipe, connect the two here, go again, and that is rocket fuel. And that rocket fuel will be turned into the ionized fuel by combining it with the power shards from this build over there. This one here is also going to run at the same setup as before. So 32 and 1/3. And yeah, the two. So the refinery and the blender also have a byproduct, which is the compacted coal, which I'm just going to remerge onto this line here, which at the end will be sunk, so that is not an issue. But I still need to do something with this ionized fuel, and for that I am going to first need to make some canisters, and let's put them a little bit further over and one in this direction. So this is going to take aluminum ingots and turn them into fluid tanks. And this is the 16 point, and then wait, 1, 6. So, and then we have a packager, which is going to package the ionized fuel at the same rate. So 16 and then 1, 6. Oh yeah, half the amount of fuel tanks needed. Okay, that is looking pretty good. So now I just need to interconnect everything once again. And now with the fuel done, it's time for some filters. For that I'm going to grab myself a manufacturer and place that somewhere around here. So let's see. If I put it in here, that should work. I can get closer there. Okay, that will have to be enough, I guess. So that means this one here is first of all going to produce the normal gas filters. So for that we are going to need a smart splitter here and another one here and then another one like that. So let's try this again. Another one there. This connects here and this connects here, and for some reason that works when you do it manually. Okay. So this is going to need coal from this belt here, so for that I'll connect this one there, connect that, and connect that, and these two. Then we have the overflow to the left, and to the right we have, what was it again? Fabric and iron plates. So let's go with the iron plates. And then the fabric. And none forward. So that's these two done. Then I need at least below, so I can put this here in the correct spot and this here in the correct spot. This is the overflow, and then we have the coal over here. Okay, that's the inputs. All that's left is power for this one. So, then we have our output there, so I can, for example, put my other manufacturer here. It should work. I'm actually running out of space here. That will have to be enough for good bit, I guess. We'll have to see. Maybe I will have to move these here out of the way a little bit. We'll see. So anyway, let's move that here. Then connect these. I will need a smart splitter around this spot here. That goes in there. That smart splitter. Overflow here, and here I'm obviously going to produce the iodine infused filters, and I was making a mistake there. I need do I need a smart splitter actually? 7.5. 1/2, yeah, I can use a normal filter here. So then let's put that in here. That will obviously merge with the output later on, and that is going to be a little bit on the tricky side, but it shouldn't be too hard all in all. And yeah, all that's left are quick wire. And then the aluminum casings, which I have on this belt there. So let's get disconnected, and then hopefully I have enough space for the rifle ammo, but we'll have to see. And about half an hour later, we're now ready for the last few bits, which are the rifle ammo. So for that. I'm going to start actually over here with 2 assemblers. And let's see, is this in line? Yeah, that looks good. Then another one over there. And yeah, I'm not entirely a fan of this ladder here, but there is not enough space, and I can't move this manufacturer over actually, or it would run into issues with this belt there. Yeah, I am going to live with this little bit of clipping. Yeah, okay. So, now, what am I going to produce over here? Well, the first one is going to produce the normal ammo, and the second one is going to turn that into the homing ammo. Let's start with this one here. So the copper sheets I'm going to grab from this belt over here. So that is then the copper sheets here. I'll do this off screen though, since that is going to be a bit on the tricky side. And then the smokeless powder I can grab from over here. Let's see. I'm going to need a splitter. Over, yeah, looks good, and then it should snap into position. I should be able to put it in like this. Okay, that is looking good. Now, this one here needs the normal ammo and the high-speed connectors. So let's start with the smart splitter. Right. Yep. This is an overflow. This is the high-speed connectors. And now I just need the normal ammo. And my idea is to merge everything somewhere over there and then have it run through this belt here. So I'm going to need my smart splitter somewhere over here. And yeah, let's see. That's the connection here. Overflow, normal ammo, and there we go. That's this one here more or less done. All that's left is a blender for the turbo. And the turbo needs the turbo fuel, which currently runs over there, although I might also be able to move it somewhere through here. Although not that easily, so that is likely the best option. I'm also going to need, obviously, the rifle ammo, and I'm going to need those casings. So, I guess if I were to... Yeah, actually, let's put that over here. And let's see, does that work? Yeah, that should work, actually. So, we need our turbo ammo. Then this here is the merged output, so that goes to a smart splitter, I would say. Wait, the wrong way around. Like that. So that means this one here goes in there. And then from here in there. And I can put a splitter over here. Maybe like this. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that's a bit too much clicking for my tape. What the hell is this? That is not what I was looking for. Definitely not. Okay, then let's try something a little bit less extreme. Can I go like that? No, I can't, but I'm close. So, then that should be the optimal solution. Yes. So, this one will have to re-merge over there. And then we have the connection there. Okay, that seems to not work. Because it's not connected to the cable. So, that seems to be. Can I? I want to this one here and then... Okay, it doesn't make a difference. Oh well. So, okay. We'll have to live with that. So that is the splitter, so I have the rifle ammo to the side, and then anything else goes in the overflow to this side there. Then I just need to connect this one here over here, as well as the copper. And then I'm pretty much done, except I need to change the settings a little bit. This is only going to produce 35. This is going to produce 10. And this is also only going to produce 10, so very, very little actually. And yeah, let's get those last few connections in. And a little bit later, this is now also running, and yeah, with that we are done with all of the production down here. We actually managed to squeeze all of this here into just one floor, which is interesting. We still need to handle the output though. So for that, I am going to just put in a very simple storage system over here. Since this is all consumables, I only need them when I'm running around, and then only a little bit, so I don't need much. So it's quite a different story than with building materials. So for that, we are going to... Actually, let's start with figuring out how far I need to go over. Okay. Yeah, that is how far I need to go. Or yeah, that is definitely the limit for this here. No. Do I want storage containers? I, strictly speaking, don't really need them. Although I have very little production of the rifle ammo, and that is used up quite fast if you really get going, so yeah, let's go with that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we have 14 different materials down here, so I need 7 times 2. Oh, that's 6, and then we have 7. Okay. Then on top of them we have our dimensional uploaders. Wait, that's not where this is. So. Yeah, that seems to... Well, we have the connection down there, and a lift up there, another connection. Then we're going to grab another lift here. And although there is a little bit of clipping involved, that looks halfway decent. So that's that part done, and then I finally need an awesome sink somewhere over here to handle the overflow. Maybe this. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, that should work. So let's get all of this here now properly hooked up. And that should be the last missing connection. So, that looks... Yep, that looks pretty good. We're already getting our first few materials coming in. We are the smart builders. And that leaves us with one little adjustment down here. We still need to turn on our converter for the uranium. Oh, let's do that. And... yeah, this is now running, and pretty soon we should start seeing some nuke Nobelisks. And okay, this is also already working. So that means all that's left over here is closing this off and hiding it away, since, well, this is not supposed to be visited by anyone, so we have to close this off. And for that, we are going to start at the top with just closing off this little hole here we used to fly in. And the same here. Come on, really. And there. And now I'm going to top this with a blueprint I prepared over here under declaration. And wait, I built this the wrong way around. Yeah, I have to quickly mirror this ladder setup here. The rest can remain. It's just the ladder and this pillar here that is in the way. And with that little hiccup fixed, it's time for the blueprint. So I just need to rotate this correctly, then put this in the correct height, and then just move it on top of the hole. And yeah, this is, in my opinion, the best way to hide away a military facility. Not only is this a public toilet, but it's even out of order and won't even open the door. So unless you really know what's going on here, you won't try to get in there. So just need to close this off, and yeah, now I'm, as I said, done here. Except there's one little thing I should also do, and that is over here. I'm going to put in a functional toilet, since, well, otherwise someone might still try to use that very toilet over there. So that needs to be in the correct spot. And if we now try to get in here, you can see, yep, there is actually a reservoir in there, and you might actually want to keep this in the open state. Okay, so that is now all done, fully functional, and if we look in the depot, we can actually see, okay, we have already some new Nobelisks coming in, so that is very nice to see indeed. Of course, we are not producing great masses of those, but decent numbers nevertheless. Okay, so that means we are pretty much done with what I had planned for today, and yeah, looking at the clock, it's definitely too late to start a new mega project. So there is one last thing I'm going to do, and that is over here. I still have one hard drive I couldn't unlock since I didn't have the super oscillators when I went on my last big adventure. So I just arrived at the aluminium facility and noticed a little bit of an issue. The aluminium ingots are filling up faster than the train can come over, so I am definitely going to add quickly a second train here, in the hopes that that will rectify the situation. So, aluminium main, aluminium hub, save changes, turn on self-driving, and get out of Dodge. Okay, so that hopefully should rectify that little issue. And yeah, now, as I said, it's time to make my way over to the last hard drive location. And here, oh, come on. Oh, that is the last missing hard drive, which immediately goes into storage. And with that, there is one last thing I have to do, and that is, well, on my way over here, I tried to grab the ionized fuel, but I apparently forgot to connect it to the dimension depot, so that has to be fixed ASAP, so it's a good thing I still have a secret way into my production chain there. Okay, I was right. I completely forgot to add a merger over here, so let's quickly rectify that. And yeah, there we go. Now the ionized package fuel is actually making its way out of the packager. Very nice to see that. Okay, now let's quickly check if we can notice any issues over here. No, that looks good. We have a little bit more uranium than we actually need, but it's not a dangerous amount right now. In case uranium cells are roughly where they should be, so that's also good. So we are not producing too much radiation over here. That is very nice indeed. Yeah, I think we are done down here. Now usually I would add lighting, but this here is supposed to be a black site, so no lighting allowed. But anyway, let's make our way to the top of our facility again. All the way up here. Then we can definitely close this off again, and yeah, I think with that we've reached a good point to stop with the episode here. We now have our consumables all being produced. Also, a little bit of debugging on the side. And next time, we're going to work on the final space elevator. And depending on how it goes, the next episode might also be the last episode in the series. But we'll have to see. And, well, with that said, we've reached the actual end of this episode here. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and comment. It really helps with the algorithm. Independent of that, I wish you a nice day. And, well, see ya.